Okay. I want to welcome the board members that are here to the a budget meeting, and I know that you all have seen the budget document that's been downloaded, uploaded, changed, revised, and ready to go. Who'd like to speak to it first? Here, you would, okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. After lengthy review and working very closely with Doug Laconin and working very closely with the departments, Superintendent's recommendation is to send over to the County Commission the Battle Creek cost plus a 3% raise at a total of $106,776,930, if that would please the board.
I looked at the document. Doug asked us to send me those, the positions that were in the almost out of range column back there. Mm-hmm. That virtual school, is that not something that we need to think and include? Because it would pay for itself.
If the board would entertain that, then that would be great, because that
would
BEP
pay
money
for itself.
would
Are you
replace
all
itself.
aware of what I'm talking about? If you go to the far, you know, there are lots of columns here, and so the fourth one over is a lot of about a $2 million cost of new positions, of which we have decided we pretty much can't go with them because it's a lot. But I asked Doug to send me the list of what was proposed, and on it was the virtual school. Do you all, if you don't know what I'm talking about, will you tell them what I'm talking about?
Happy to, yes ma'am. So one of the things that we've entertained is creating a virtual academy. Basically, if you will, a portion of Northfield would be strictly online for any student inside the state of Tennessee. We've had some presentations of superintendents from various virtual schools, and I have found that the platform that they're using is currently the credit recovery platform we already use. So by adding this virtual academy oversight person, if you will, homeschool children in other parts of the state could basically enroll in Maury County schools, do all of their curriculum online, and then we classify them as ADM, so that means we then get BEP money for those children. And if that position, if we're looking at about a $45,000 to $50,000 cost for that position, we would only need, exactly, we would only need 7 or 8 kids to enroll in the entire program. So in essence, we would be front-loading that cost, but that BEP money that comes in for students that enroll would take care of that cost in and of itself.
I'm telling you what, I'm not going to call on you all. Hit the button, and when you know it's your turn, speak. We'll try it.
Okay. So I guess I'm thinking more. I see the opportunity there. Is there a good opportunity here to retain some students? I know from time to time throughout the years we have students that, for whatever reason, they feel like they're not getting what they need at the school. They're going to they come reach out and say, "I want to pull my kids out of the school." Do you see this as a good way to retain them in the system, but yet let them kind of step away from whatever school building they're having some issues with?
Yes, not only that, but through the state of Tennessee, as per state law, students that enroll in a homeschool education have to have a curriculum, and that curriculum has to be approved. We would essentially be able to tell homeschool parents, you can still educate your child at home. We have a curriculum for you. All they have to do is log in every single day and complete their assignments. And then we would receive that state money, even though that child would never actually step foot on Maury County Schools campus throughout the course of the day. So it would be mutually beneficial.
Okay.
I think Lincoln County is one that is doing this, or maybe other counties as well. Are you aware?
Yes, Wilson County does it as well.
And Wilson County is doing it well. The only reason I had brought that up, because at this point I don't want to rock the boat too much on this, on the budget, but I do think it'll pay for itself.
If not, generate more revenue.
At least generate revenue in the long term that would offset whatever the expense is, for
yes,
sure.
ma'am.
But anyway, I'm just putting that out there. Now, Mr. Laconin, Doug, do you want to speak to it, any of this?
I would just like to speak, if you go to call to order on the agenda, that's actually where Mona incorrectly attached our GP budget. So if you haven't found it yet, that is where it is at. It was not supposed to be there, but that's where it's at. A follow-up is, with a $42,500 average salary predicted for this position, we can expect the total cost of this position to be approximately 51,000 with benefits and Social Security and Medicare included.
Okay. And I'm just putting it out there, I don't, you know, it's y'all's decision to make and what we ultimately need to send to the commission a total, so, but I just, in looking over those positions, I thought that was one that would pay for itself. Now, do you all have any, okay, go ahead.
One last thing is that I have a ton of information on me if there are questions, including all of the positions that were requested in addition to Battle Creek funding and the Battle Creek funding positions. I also have my payroll sheets with me, and if we want to get down to object code level, we can even look at that. It's up to this board. Thank you.
One thing, I think, the column that Dr. Marzak has recommended is a 3% and Battle Creek. Battle Creek, according to what I'm looking at, is really close to $3 million. There's no beginning salary change, no modification. That would still be pretty low on that. There's not any of the new positions and all. And I know you all were, if you take the Herald, you read the Herald, or you live near somebody who reads the Herald, you know that they have had their study done, and the recommendation for them was 8% to 13% increase in salary. And we're only asking for a piddling 3%. Maybe we're not asking for enough, Doug. Yes.
I would like to comment that the Commission has not funded any percentage at this point in time. They're just looking at approving the study, which the study is actually a total cost right now of about $260,000 with benefits and insurance and all of that included. They have not actually taken any budget and approved it yet, except last night they approved the water department budget, which we really don't have any management oversight for. So we're still working on our budget. There's no increases guaranteed at this time for any county employees. Also, I was told today by the Budget Committee Chairman that if we approve a budget tonight, they would get it on the agenda for this Thursday to review whatever number we send tonight so that we can get this process moving.
This is not a meeting we can vote.
Okay.
Oh, it is a special call? Oh, okay, there you go. I did not know that.
Cool.
Well, that's even cooler, and
we'll review it
we have a
Thursday.
quorum.
Mm-hmm.
Then we need to go through it. It's not right. Let's back up, and I apologize, and I'll get more formal here. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So made.
Mr. Pennings made the motion, Mr. Moore seconded the motion. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, then we've adopted a 1, 2, 3 agenda. The first item on the agenda is the GP. So now, right now, is when you all need to get into the weeds. We need to make a decision tonight so that we can send it to the commission meeting on Thursday. Okay, Mr. Pennings.
Is our 106?
It's not on. Here, I'll turn it.
Our 106, 796, 930, is that what management is considering bare bones budget?
Adding in the position for the Northfield Online Academy? Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that the total with the, what we just said, if we add that?
Donna got it right.
Yeah, okay.
827, 930?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there any other discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Dr. Marzak, on this virtual academy, would the homeschool kids here in the county, would they account for that also? If they joined into this, okay, how many kids do we have in the county that's being homeschooled? Just approximately.
I want to say my number is around 400 or so students. So we would really only need to attract 8 students in order to generate revenue. So anything above that is just additional revenue that's going into, will go into our growth funds that we get around February and June. Part of this person's job, not only managing it, but also is recruiting.
Okay, and if I understood you right, any other student out surrounding counties, any place in Tennessee, any school district in Tennessee could join into this?
Yes, sir. So homeschool students in Giles, even the counties that touch us, we could go after students in Giles, Lawrence, Lewis, Marshall, any of those students that said, you know what, I want to be in the Edgenuity program, but I want to stay home. Not a problem. We enroll you, we get you locked in, that BEP money rolls in.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Lorenzi?
Do you have plans to market this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, we've been discussing this for about 6 months now. So I had Luema McWilliams, who's the head of Northfield, and Carl Lang doing some work in roughly about January. They've started to generate interest flyers. They put enough work in to get us to this point, and then pause, waiting to see what's going to happen with the budget. So if this is a position that we can get in, they'll accelerate from here and start to look at recruiting and going after students.
I would just like to make the comment that to fund this budget, it would be a 20-cent property tax increase for the community.
What I would hope the community wants better schools. I would hope the community wants what's best for their kids. I would hope they would want to pay our teachers a competitive salary. I think they would. I'm not a member of the commission, and I know they worry about election, but you have got to provide for the people and the kids. They're our future. We're preparing a workforce. We're preparing taxpayers. And I know that you're not the person that makes that decision, and I appreciate you bringing it to us, but I think this is a bare bones budget. I do. We're only asking for a cost of living increase. Social Security over the last 2 years has had an increase of 4.9% that was tied directly to cost of living. Our teachers have had a $215 raise. That's it, in 2 years. So we're only asking for a cost of living. We're only asking for the status quo. So I don't think that's too much. And we're also asking for them to fund Battle Creek. The schools they built, they funded, and it's going to bring people to this community. It's going to be known everywhere. It's amazing. So I appreciate your pointing that out to us. That's your job. But my message is not to you, it's to the commission and the taxpayers of Murray County. Fund education.
And yes, I'm just being informative.
Yes, understand.
There's also that particular column does not include the step proposal for new teachers or the salary study. Just
I understand.
FYI.
And there was something else I was going to comment on, and I don't remember what it was now. So go ahead.
I'm not sure I understand exactly how this works, but I think it was this year or last year, they had to review property taxes, and they went down. Is that correct? They adjust them. So actually, the property taxes were lower. Yep. Please.
So in a year of reappraisal, they take a look at property values within the area, and they adjust those property values. And because this is a growing community, the property values increased. Now, a government is not supposed to increase their revenue during property tax revenue during a reappraisal year unless it is for brand new construction. So our revenue is not allowed to increase, but if the values increase, that means our tax rate must go down so that we get the same amount of revenue. So our tax rate was 2.815. It's gone down to 2.2364, but we only received $700,000 total dollars across the school district and county commission derived funds to use, and it was only from new construction.
So my question is, this 20 cents property tax, will bring the tax rate not as high as it was, correct?
That's correct, but our amount of revenue that we will receive as a government and people on their tax bills will have a higher bill, not because of their value going up, but because their taxes went up. During the reappraisal year, because their home was worth more, yes, they actually paid right around the same amount because our tax rate went down. So, that's not even keel across the board because everybody's in a different area of the community, but as a whole, that is the goal of a reappraisal.
Okay, so you're saying that I'm wrong, that the tax rate won't be about the same as it was with this added on? Am I thinking wrong?
Our tax rate would be about, if we increased it 20 cents, would be 2.4364, but as a government, we would get an additional $4.7 million in revenue compared
Okay, so
due to raising taxes.
it was, before it was readjusted, what was the tax rate?
2.815.
So with this 20 cent, it will be at
4.3.
so it'll still be lower tax rate than it was.
It'll be a lower tax rate, but homes are
worth
at a
more.
higher value now,
But you can also sell your home for more. Okay,
in some areas.
okay.
I just want you to know that my taxes went up, so I want that up to go to the schools, if you don't mind. But I do have a question. Let's talk about revenue just a minute. Huh?
Your tax rate did not go up, the
I
value of your
understand
home went.
the value of my house, and I did pay more taxes, so I thought that was to be adjusted, so it'd be the same, but whatever. Can we look at revenue just a minute? In 1608, what we budgeted last year for, revenue on,
Sales tax?
Yes.
That's correct, and we're trending to barely make that this year.
You don't think it's gonna be beyond 17 after,
I do not think it's gonna be beyond 17 at this point in the year. I think we'll meet about 16.8 or 17 million this year, and sales taxes adjust with consumerism and increasing actual sales in our area, and compared to prior years, it was trending that we were only going to have about 15 million this year until a CITUS report recovered some of those funds.
Okay. I did like, there's an increase, and I swear I cannot read this, but there was a couple of things there was an increase. I just wanted you to clarify for me, because last year it was budgeted 81,100, now it's $785. Which is other state education funds?
46590.
Yes. Oh, no, yes.
There's actually, that code was incorrectly, budgeted last year. It shouldn't have had a budget in that line item per audit. That's why we, took the revenue budget for that line item out.
Okay.
Yeah. We reallocated a lot of funds. Another revenue fund that's not supposed to have very much money is the miscellaneous refunds. You can see that last year you had budgeted $153,000 in revenue. These are refunds for expenditures that are already made. Those should be journal entered into our expenditure line items to reduce those funds. And also, there were line items being classified there that should not have ever been classified there, such as sponsorship revenue and other things. So we should not pre-plan to receive refund revenue, and if we do get refund revenue, it should go into the person's budget where the funds were expended out of.
I see lights here everywhere.
Not only that, in the next 2 weeks, we should be receiving our final update to the basic education program.
My next question.
And so Jennifer Morgan's been doing a lot of work diligently. We have increased in ADM, and so she's finishing up those databases over the next 2 weeks. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, we're currently sitting at 59. What are we sitting at, Doug? 59,428?
As of the May estimate,
Yeah,
correct.
we're sitting at 59,428. I'm hoping that's going to go around 59.8. Maybe even 60 million. So, but I won't know that for the next 2 weeks. So that'll help out as well.
I do think, as a board member, I'm pleased to have Doug on board. I feel like that every entry in here, he has looked for those kind of savings, combining, making sure everything is correct. He's been available, and I appreciate that. He just can't write us a check. So, I just feel for the first time in the budget process that we're looking at a budget that is cleaner and, he's listened to staff, he's listened to, I've sat in on some of the meetings as well, and I appreciate that. I don't know what'll happen beyond here, but, I personally think that we should, let me make a motion. I can do that, can't I? I move that we, that, I don't know, I'm not sure how to word it, that our general purpose budget be 107.6. What's the figure, Donna? 106,827,930. That will include the funds for Battle Creek and a 3% raise for all of our employees. Second, Mr. Pennings has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Ms.
Okay, Doug, I think you mentioned earlier about the step raise, that the step raise was not included in this. So where does that come from?
The step raise is included. The step raise is included under that column.
Okay.
For 2 years I've been trying to do something about beginning salary, which we need to do, but I understand that, we have to let things go. So we'll remain at the bottom of the barrel on that, but that's okay. We'll do the best we can. But that's what he's referring to. How much?
221,006, hold on. 221,698.
Okay, Mr. Penny.
And I know the county commission has a hard job, and we've all got a hard job. Staff's got a hard job. But the county's growing, and everybody's proud that the county is growing. Everybody says that we need more industry, which we do. We need more retail, or some decent retail anyway. And that, along with growth, always comes expense. Always. I mean, we can't go with a budget the same amount of last year or just a real small increase for last year. We've added 2 new schools. And I feel sorry that you have to raise the taxes, but with progress sometimes comes a price. And we just have to see if the voters and the county commission is willing to pay the price, as far as I'm concerned.
Ms. Morency?
You mentioned that, you said something about 8%. Who is?
That's what Doug, explain that.
So the Herald quoted 8%. I'm just going to say it. They got it wrong. That was never presented. We have a salary study that was done just like y'all's salary study, and then what was recommended by the HR director was an additional 5% for only the employees that weren't affected by the salary study, because we would have compacting. People that were, being raised by the salary study because they weren't paid at the minimum would be catching up with employees that have tenure that have been there for 15, 20 years. And so to keep that status quo of tenure and being there for an extended amount of time and being more experienced, give those people an increase. But so far, there has not been any movement as far as approving a raise for any employees. There have been some budgets taken under advisement, which could change at any time for the salary study, but no raise percentage.
You said they passed the water department budget?
Yeah, that is an.
Was there a raise in there for their employees?
We don't manage the water department. We just by law have to approve their budget.
But
It was
was there-
not presented if there was a raise or not within their budget.
Or you don't look at their budget and,
In detail, no, because that's usually left up to the water department and their jurisdiction. They have a water board that they answer to.
okay.
Ms. Morency, you're,
I'm just confused. Why would they be different than the school board?
Technically, we're not supposed to analyze and line item the school board either. We're just supposed to give a number we're willing to fund. Also, we don't provide any funds to the water department. They
Okay.
earn their own off of revenue fees.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
any other, so are you ready for the question? Okay. Who seconded, I'm sorry? Mr. Pennings. I did, and I'm also, because I'm not even on the right. Okay, then it's time to vote. And Charlie, my vote is yes, I'm not on the right website to vote electronically. Yeah, I had to put it on general purpose, but yeah. We didn't have a vote.
So what's the motion again?
Approve the, no, go ahead, because I pulled it up off the Murray County School website, because I can read it better, not realizing it was, and I'll get on the other one right now. I know that. I'm watching to see if you vote the same way. Oh. Can we take a? Yeah, we've already voted. No. Can we take a roll call? Yes, of course. Mr. Pennings?
Yes.
Ms. Kinzer votes yes. Mr. Beaver? Yes. Ms. Morency? Yes. Mr. Moore? Yes. Mr. Dudley? No. The vote is 5-2, so it doesn't pass. Speak to what your concerns are.
Well, it's just like usual. Same thing we have year after year. The commission expects us to perform miracles on a budget that doesn't cover our cost.
Do you think this budget doesn't cover costs?
Do you mind?
No.
Okay, thank you. So, yes, this budget is not including everything we want to do, but this will allow us to continue to progress for one more year. So we are allowed to open Battle Creek Elementary School and Battle Creek Middle. This will give a 3% raise for our employees. Like we've commented here before, I'd love for it to be a 4, 5, or 6% raise. But we're at least allowed to give a 3% raise for all of our employees. We have the Northfield Academy position, which will give us the online position to be able to do that. Plus, it maintains where we are with concerns to academics, with textbooks and curriculum and those types of things. So I'm okay. I'll be honest with you, Mr. Dudley. I'm okay with the budget as it sits right now, because I know a lot of the concerns, a lot of the problems that we have with being a growing community. And it's not going to get easier anytime soon. As more homes are continuing to be allowed to be built, we're going to continue to see that enrollment growth, and we're going to continue to have to move down this pathway. But I'll be honest with you, I see this budget as a good budget to continue to move us forward. That's the way I see it. I like the 106, 827, 930. I think it's good.
So, but no budget is not acceptable, though, Mr. Dudley. What would you have us do?
Well, I just don't want to see us continue caving in.
do you
And
think this
that's-
is a cave-in? 'Cause it's exactly $4 million more than they said they would give us. Isn't it, 102 something? I don't remember the exact total.
Yes, ma'am.
It's 4.2 million.
More than they said. So we're not caving in. We're asking for what we need, what we have to have, I feel.
And I'll be honest with you, I would not go below the 106,827,930. I would not go below that, because then we're not gonna get into continuing to move forward as a district. If we can't open Battle Creek, that would be catastrophic. If we can't do a 3% raise for our employees, again, that would be catastrophic. Those are things that I think are the basics we need to have to continue to remain viable and forward and progressive in southern Middle Tennessee if we're gonna continue to attract employees. We're doing a pretty good job of attracting employees. If we continue to do that, we at least need 106,827,930. That's the minimum we need.
Mr. Penny?
Mr. Dudley, and I know where you're coming from, 'cause you and I have had this discussion and said this for a long time. I'm okay with the budget now, and that's why I asked Dr. Marzak if they were okay with the budget. I don't consider asking for 106 is caving in. I think we should pass the 106, but we should never move off of it. If we move off of what we figure we need, then that would be caving in. And I've said that for a long time. Ask for what you really need and stay there. And that's my position on it.
Mr. McCollum?
Compared to last year's budget, we had a windfall due to the finance department leaving the schools, $950,000 of actual funds that would be expensed. And so if you include that and you just compare that to last year's budget, you'd be starting at approximately $100 million to add everything if we went off of last year's budget. So that total increase compared to last year's budget with the windfall of finance included is $6,825,395, and that goes towards step raises. It goes towards opening 2 new schools. It goes to 3% raises, and it also goes to those additional positions, the virtual classroom position. And we also have capital budgets that are going forward and buses going forward. I just wanted to kind of put that into perspective that, $6,825,000 increase over last year.
I don't consider that settling. I consider that asking for what we need, Mr. Dudley. Ms. Morency.
The concern that I have is, the county did a salary study, correct? The school district did a salary study. We don't have the money to do what we should do with that salary study. We are looking at a 3% raise, and the county is looking at a 5% raise. Just looking at, what I'm saying. My thing is, our teachers, our employees are county employees. And I would like to see them get the same thing that the county employees get. And and I know that it's not in the budget, and I know that it's not gonna happen, but to me, that's only fair, that we treat our employees, the school district employees, the same way that we treat other county employees. And if we did a salary study, and we have people that are working below what their salary should be, and the county can raise theirs, and we can't raise ours, and we can only give a 3%, and they can give a 5%, something's wrong there. That's all I'm saying to the commissioners. I would like to see us a level playing field there. Our employees treated exactly like county employees, because that's what they are.
And I think that we've had that discussion even going forward, that might be something that we can put in policy, that we would tie raises going forward to what the county does. Well, that's true. Okay.
Not if they won't honor that.
Do you want to respond?
And this is really not a response. I don't have an opinion either way, but I will say that the salary policies are different. If the commission gives a 3% raise, that is all that employee gets. We do not have step raises built in there. So, over here, there's guaranteed step raises that this body funds regardless.
Only for teachers, though. We've got 'em.
Only for teachers, correct, which is, it is the majority of the employees, but, that's not on the county side, so we would factor that in if we calculated that.
And over 200 that have put in more than 20 years that don't get step raises now as well, so way more than that. Whatever. Mr. Beaver?
Okay, on, the difference between the county side and school side, what's the difference in the total dollar value of a 5% versus a 3% for the school versus a 5% for the county?
Because the county's employees we have about a third of the employees, so it's a lot less expensive to give a 3% raise to the county employees versus a 3% raise to the school district, just because of the sheer volume of employees, just dollar-wise. If we look at percentage, over the last 10 years, and this takes step raises out of it, the county has given an average of a 1.9% raise, average per year, which is almost, you get 1.1% approximately just in step raises. So if any additional raise is given on the school side, then that bumps up that average. So if you look at it retrospectively, and I have not done that for the school side, haven't had the time, but I think we would see that it's not that far apart, just numbers wise.
Mr. Dudley, is there anything we can do or say? We're in a unique position that there are only 6 here, and so, which I regret because that they're board members that are not party to this, and by whatever reason, vacation, Chad Howell called me before he came, to tell me he supported, a 3% in Battle Creek, but he can't vote, he's not here. Mr. Atkinson is not here, those people who are not here are not able to speak, so that puts you in not a difficult, I know you don't mind being in that position, but at the same time, I feel like for one time, we are asking for what we need. And I understand what you're saying, but if we were doing what the commission wanted, we would be cutting positions, cutting, benefits, we would be trying to make that budget meet what they said they would give us in revenue. But we're not doing that, we're asking for what we need.
What new positions are funded in this?
So included in this list of positions, first of all, we have the virtual academy position, that's one, and then we have 28 positions that will fund Battle Creek Elementary and Battle Creek Middle. 7 of those positions are support, they're technology or maintenance or assistance, building operator. And then 21 of those positions are teachers that actually require funding, that aren't just being shuffled. Some of them that are shuffling are actually being replaced at the school they're leaving, and so that increases expense. So 29 total positions, additional, compared to last year.
So we haven't funded the position for the maintenance department.
We have a maintenance specialist and then a building operator to take care of Battle Creek Elementary and Battle Creek Middle included.
But those are the only 2.
Those are the only 2. We have technology specialists and tech coaches, but those aren't maintaining those buildings. Yeah. Mr. Breeden's here to comment. That's what he submitted with his budget.
Well, that sounds, we didn't fund the additional position Mr. Breeden was needing for his department.
Well, I would be open to adding that, 'cause I think he needs it.
The salary for that position, it was estimated at $65,000. No, that is just the salary.
Well, so give us a total.
I'm just afraid that if Mr. Breeden doesn't get that position, our building, I mean, he's been telling us for years that he and Dave have been overworked. And we're adding 2 additional buildings, and their other buildings aren't getting any younger. And so we know the workload is going to increase, from the older buildings. You know, at some point, we've got to give him an additional person. If not, we're gonna go back into, buildings are not being repaired and upkeep is not being maintained.
I think it's a good point, Mr. Dudley. I think that's something we need to consider.
The total cost with benefits, Social Security, Medicare, TCRS is $83,041.
$83,041.
$41.
Which is bringing the
Okay,
budget to
So what would make the budget?
Good job.
If we can add that position,
106 what?
Okay. Will you make the motion?
Yeah.
Okay, the motion being,
Now, somebody give me the dollar amount. Okay, I make the motion to approve that amount.
is there a second to that motion?
Second.
The motion's been made by Mr. Dudley, seconded by Mr. Pennings. Any discussion? Is that figure correct?
That is correct. Ms. Morency calculated it perfectly.
Then we're ready to vote? Are we ready to vote, Shirley?
Let's do it, please.
Let's just do a voice vote again. Yes, please. Mr. Dudley?
Yes.
Mr. Moore? Yes. Ms. Morency? Yes. Mr. Beaver? Yes. Ms. I'm sorry, that was so low, I was afraid. I vote yes. Mr. Pennings?
Yes.
We have a budget.
Motion passed, okay. All right, next on the agenda is, I've got Keys to College and Career Readiness. All right. That's from the, okay, you wanna talk?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, actually, to be honest with you, once we have a finalized budget, I'd like to defer this until we determine our final budget, just in case we have to use fund balance
Yes.
to make up any shortfall. So I'd like to bypass this one if the board's okay with that.
All right, thank you. We added the capital budget just for review, but that's something we've already voted on. I don't know if you wanna look or go over it as well, Mr. Breeden?
The only thing that, and I don't know if you wanna make a change, but we did, originally we gave you an estimate of $20 million for McDowell, and we actually plugged in the actual number that was brought last night, Monday night, which I don't remember off my top of my head.
22.
Now, we did not go in and take off the $1 million that we have in EMG funds for McDowell, which we could if you felt like we needed to reduce that number. But that's the only change I put in here, but that has not been approved. What you approved originally was the
Okay,
$20 million. So I don't know if you want to change that, or...
The question is, do we want to change that capital request for McDowell to reflect what we now know to be, the GMP? Are you speaking to that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I
Mr.
believe
Dudley?
we need to put the true dollar value in the request.
Mr. Dudley?
I just agree with Mr. Beaver that we need to go with what, our true cost is estimated to be.
You agree with him?
Yes.
Me too. All right, then we need a motion to accept the revised capital fund. What is it? What is the revised?
Well, I just opened the one on the agenda, and I know I uploaded it.
Ms. Morency, the, accountant over here, is giving us these figures.
I'll
It's-
get
it's
you the
about a
number
$2
real
million
quickly, I'm
increase.
sorry. Yeah, I'll,
Right, I think it was
Give me just a
23
second.
plus.
You can ask, I think,
yeah,
I think that what,
well, sorry.
I think you just, we leave it up to the commission.
I got the number right here, but I know I uploaded it to the agenda and it's not showing up. The amount is $22,918,410.
The new total will be $63,024,293.
The 23,924 was before, but we've already paid $1 million of that for design.
Okay.
So the $22,918,410.
All right, so, then I need a motion to amend the capital request. No, what? Well, I think it's something to discuss. When you stop it, and I'll just put it out there, because, you know, the other night, we were told that they really wouldn't be able to even put out bids till January. And, even at that, to get a GMP would be after that. So, now, whether we want the commission to go ahead and make sure that the funds are gonna be available when we are ready to build and leave it in there, that's one thing, or do we wanna make it next year's capital request when the GMP is ready? I don't know. There's both needs. I thought the Spring Hill plans looked great. I like the look of it, I like the industrial look of it. I think that having seen the Battle Creek schools and then seeing that high school, that somehow they've been able to modernize and look like it's part of that whole community look. That's incredible to me, and I didn't comment to them the other night, 'cause I didn't get to see them, but just being able to create that industrial, modern look to that school, I thought was really amazing. So, anyway, let's discuss it. What do you all think, Mr. Beaver?
Thank you. Mr. Braden, could you kinda refresh us on why they couldn't give us a GMP till next year?
They are, one of the things, if you'll go back a little bit, there was a proposal made, and I'd have to go back and look at the date, sometime late fall, to move forward with design on Spring Hill High School, which was delayed for a couple of months. I think it didn't actually get approved till either January or February. So right now, all they have is just a preliminary schematic design. It is not enough to even go out there's not a mechanical design, there's not electrical design, there's not a structural design, there's not a civil design. You have to have all of those to go out and get hard pricing on it. So what they're saying is, to get that design work finished would take another possibly 4 to 6 months to finish, to get all those disciplines, and once that's done, they can get a true GMP. So right now, what they were hoping to do, was to even just put together a budget estimate off of just that schematic, and that's what they hope to have back in 4 to 6 weeks, to be a little bit firmer on that. But really, to deliver GMP, you've got to have a complete design, and they just haven't had time to complete that. One of the things that contributed, that they've spent a good bit of time meeting with school staff, really to try to understand the needs of the school, really trying to look at the programming of the school, to make sure that there's adequate facility. You know, one of the things they've uncovered is there's not enough large enough band room. So they're expanding the band room. They discovered there wasn't enough athletic facilities in the current school to accommodate if the school became 1,800. Just things like football locker rooms not big enough, or a coach's offices, or things that are support for athletics that have to be there in that size school. So those are some things added. But also, measuring the classroom space and making sure that we had adequate classroom space and everything's well. So that took a little bit longer, which extended out that time to get into design, and so right now they've just been able to get that, far on the design.
Okay, all right, thanks, sir.
Ms. Morency?
So what I understand is that the county commission will not give us funds without the GMP, correct? Is that their
They gave us
policy?
the $2 million to bring back a GMP.
That's been the history. If you go back,
Yeah.
remember, everything about McDowell back and forth was, well, bring us a GMP. Well, we don't have money until you give it to us for us to get a GMP.
So they gave us
So-
$2 million to get a
Get
GMP.
the GMP.
Yes.
So, I just, personally, I don't see any reason to ask for the money if we can't use it. So that would put us at 27,024,293 if we took that 36 million out. I mean, I don't know what, but I just don't see why we would ask for it if we're not gonna be able to use it. Or is this a better year to ask for it than next year will be? Because, I mean, it's something we all wanna do. We all wanna do that and get that completed, and I'm just not sure which would be the best way to go with that.
There you go.
The Financial Management Board takes all of the capital items under advisement first and then sends it to the budget committee, and they took every single request that was sent and forwarded it along to the budget committee. So the budget committee has to at least discuss, Spring Hill. So it will be brought up at the budget committee meetings when we discuss capital.
So you would say leave it in there, and, I mean, if we take out the 36 million, I think we should at least tell them, we took it out because we can't do anything this year anyway, but keep in mind, next year is gonna be in there. Some way we have to still let them know that we still need the money for Spring Hill. The only reason it's not in this year's budget is because we can't do anything building-wise this year anyway.
If you all would like to make that decision here, I can communicate that to the budget committee when they discuss capital and say, hey, the board, does or does not want to include Spring Hill anymore in this year's discussion.
I would just point out, while some commissioners have expressed that as their personal opinion, we're still setting a number over no matter what, and they're gonna either vote it up or down. So I don't put too much weight in that. Some people have said they would like to have that. I've maintained all along that I think it's a poor choice on our part to go that route. I think we can get decent numbers without doing that. So I don't see that as a reason not to send this number over because we don't have that. Now, there may be other reasons not to send it over, or send either one of these over. That just, for me personally, I don't seem like that's one reason, because as Doug has said, it's gonna come over and it's gonna be discussed one way or another.
Okay, I think, if I understand right, is Spring Hill getting close to capacity or not past capacity of the building?
The numbers to finish the year, and I'm going off of what Mr. Lang shared with us, 1,181 students was the final enrollment for this year. That was up about, I think, 90 students over last year. They're projecting somewhere around 1,240 or 1,250 at the start of school for this coming year. We've set along with capacity based on, this is not classroom space. Now, classroom space, we have capacity for 1,500, but we don't have room in the cafeteria, the hallways to pass those students through. I mean, the hallways are very, very tight stairwells, so it will exceed capacity in this coming year. And while I'm speaking to that, if I might just say one other thing, to say that there's a difference between being ready to start school in January with the GMP and waiting till July to get, and then starting in August. I mean, you lose 8 months. That means you're 8 months later getting into the new building, which means you're not dealing with 1,240, 50 students next year. You're dealing with probably 1,300 to 1,350 students the next, without that addition finished. Also, One of the things they told us with the McDowell price, and they didn't share this, nobody asked, and I'm sorry, I wasn't here last Monday night, but they told us that price was only good for about, couple of months, because prices are going up so fast. They will, if that's not approved, that GMP won't be good next year. It won't be good in December. It won't be good because they said prices are just changing. So the same thing, if you look at, if we got a GMP in January and we waited to fund it in September, it'd probably be more. Prices will go up. So one of the things that I think you need to be thoughtful about is, do we ask the commission to have the money ready to fund that in January if we come with GMP, or we just say, no, let's just wait till next year and start all over again? I think it will cost more money based on the history right now. Now, I can't predict the future, but I also believe it's gonna get the school into some serious straits, not in the 1920 school year, but in the 2021 school year. There may be some serious, and it may lead to, having to redistrict or do some other things. It can't be solved with portables because it's not a classroom space issue.
Just speaking, I would rather leave the capital and just adjust it for the 22, just leave it alone. I want the Spring Hill community, that school, to know that this board expects this to be taken care of, that we support it, and we're ready, prepared, ready to go. Whether it's funded or not, that'll be up to the commission, but I would prefer to send it on. That's just me. And I'm happy to make a motion.
What would the number be with the increase from McDowell?
Okay, but I need a figure. 63, my accountant says.
24,293.
So, Shirley, how about motion to revise the capital budget in the amount of, and we'll leave the number that Donna said.
63,024,293. 293.
I'll second that motion.
Is there any discussion? Mr. Moore?
So, how late do y'all want to stay tonight to talk about this? If you will recall, I had issues with and voted against the McDowell funding in the first place. I still have issues with that, about whether or not that's the right course of action. So I'll throw these things out here for some discussion points on that. We originally had talked about, when we first started down this road, we originally talked about consolidating that school with Baker to go more of the campus route with that direction. I'm still not convinced that is not the best course of action for us to move with. I have had serious questions about, we're not adding a lot of capacity at this school by going this route, and I think we're adding it, what little capacity we are adding, we're adding it in an area that is simply not going to grow. So I have struggles with that, and then seeing that it's come in at another, another $3 million higher price tag, is further, which again is another $2 million above what we originally talked about when it was 18. So we've gone even higher there. I'll also go back to, and I understand there's some, I'll bring this up as another discussion point.
You realize we've already passed the
Understand.
original budget.
But I'm just letting you know how this is about to go on this one, understand. So the other concerns I would have on this would be the $36 million at the Spring Hill High School. Now, I'm just basing this on the discussions that Mr. Breeden's having about the fact that, and we didn't get numbers the other night. We got kind of a discussion that, hey, the number's so big, we're not even gonna bring it to you. Which leads me to think that even at that, when the number does come to us, it's going to be similarly, inflated over what this other school was. So I don't see how $36 million is gonna be appropriate for that if the intention here is to let the county commission know whether they fund it this year or next year, of what the true costs of these projects are, then it would be my intention to go ahead and look at something closer to a $40 million price tag for that Spring Hill High School. And at least, if we're discussing this, we're at least discussing numbers that I feel like are realistic, and it puts us into the frame of mind of, and again, similar to what I brought up about McDowell, we have to have some very serious discussions about what we want to do with that. Is that number start to get to a point where are we putting, too much money into an existing school? Which again, I brought that up as well. I know that that's a matter of difference of opinions. Does that school really need to be brought up to that high of a school? Should we have been talking about another high school, which I know is a whole other discussion point. But I mean, I say that I think we need to have more realistic numbers in the discussion so that we can at least weigh these things appropriately. So again, if we're talking about looking at McDowell going up to what's been given us, which is the 22, almost 3 million more, I think we should be at least discussing, when we're talking about this, discussing whether that $36 million should be a more realistic 40 million, which I think is probably, even though I have not heard any numbers from Hewlett Spencer, is probably closer to what we're talking about, if not more than that.
Thank you, ma'am. So first off, I want to apologize to the board. I got an update from the Columbia Planning Commission on Thursday. I haven't had a chance to disaggregate the data yet, but just looking just preliminarily from what was happening in December to what's happening now, there have been an additional 466 home units approved, and there are 277 units left to build out. Not only that, but on the list of things that weren't active, there are more that, so when you approve it and it sits there until you build, it's inactive. So they have activated more, which means homes are actually going on. So the problem that we're hitting in Columbia is there may not be homes initially right now going around McDowell, but there are homes going around Highland Park, Riverside, Brown, Baker. So it's starting to impact the seat capacity in other schools that if the board were to vote to not do McDowell, would then create problems if we rezone the kids to other schools. For example, since December, 2 new subdivisions, Summerdale and Stonebridge, over by Brown, have been added. Stonebridge is a potential 60 units, and Summerdale is a potential 154. So you're looking at 210 homes right there. And if you look at an index of about 1.87, then there could be anywhere between 200 to 300 kids get zoned to those types of schools. And according to West Bryant, this information is changing every month as more people are coming in and they're buying up property in Murray County because it's less expensive than Williamson County, while we're still regionally located close to Nashville. And the other thing is, when we talked about doing a GMP for McDowell, it was based on the fact of he sent us updated maps, and I think, Ms. Kinzer, if you remember that, and his recommendation as the head of the Planning Commission is, Chris, you're going to need every seat over the next 5 to 10 years in Columbia that you can. You really don't have the luxury to close down schools at this point. So that's, once I have this information disaggregated, I'm going to send it out to the board so you guys have it, but I didn't get it till Thursday and I haven't had time to take a look at it. But this information is updated as of last Thursday.
So how many students are currently at McDowell? Or how many seats do we have there?
Mr. Braden?
At McDowell. So we're adding 140 seats. I guess this gets back to my point. If the growth like that is really coming and it's not in McDowell's district, then perhaps moving to another location and not being limited to simply adding 140 seats, we may need to be adding more than that. It was my point all along.
Yeah, but the luxury we have, as I'm saying, is we still have a little bit capacity at Riverside. We have capacity at Brown.
Understood.
We have capacity at Highland Park. So for now, if we keep that capacity plus 140, we're going to be good for a little bit. But my fear, and I'll be honest with you, my fear is once we rebuild McDowell, I see that as a catalyst for really downtown growth, because once people see a Battle Creek type school at the top of West 7th there, more people are going to want to move here and more people are want to come. And that I think is going to spark the problem in the future.
Again,
which is a good problem.
Which is a school that's already, again, when you're only adding 140 seats, that's the problem you run back into. It may be a catalyst for growth, simply adds to the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that as solving as much of a problem as doing it at another location, which is what we originally started talking about in the first place. Look, I mean, when you look at the dollars on that, look at what the cost per student to add 140 seats is.
What would it be? What was the total?
I mean, I know it's getting a new school, and I know that a problem needs to be solved there one way or another.
Yeah.
But when you start looking about what the cost per student is to do that, I think it becomes pretty staggering. And again, I'm not meaning to monopolize the discussion. I just bringing these up as points that I feel like are still issues that we're going to have to deal with. Were all of the growth to happen as you're saying it would happen, it simply speeds up us having to do what I'm talking about right now, which is adding on at that location, which is on the central campus. That seems like the inevitable thing, and it seems like we're just spending money here to do that.
You mean adding to Baker?
Yes.
I think we're gonna have to do that in addition to down the road anyway. I think we're gonna have to add on to Baker. And then begs the next question, Whitthorne.
Okay, I'm not going there yet, but I think
Whitthorne
realistically,
is our largest middle school. It's
because
bigger
again,
than Spring
this
Hill Middle.
entire discussion started in the first place with us talking about the Baker, the expanding there, because it solved a couple of different problems at once. And I still think, again, the vote may go different, this may not change anything tonight,
The
but that's
motion
where
on
I'm
the
at.
floor is just to amend what we've already done,
Sure.
and we've already approved a
Understood.
budget that says Bill McDowell
Understood.
at that, that's right. Let me say this to you too, is everybody, when I came on the board, thought that I'm this central high school teacher, big school person, you know, that all I want is huge schools and combine them all and walk into the sunset. I have come to realize how important community schools are, and the fact that we have 4 community schools in this county, when there are only 6 in the state, makes us somewhat unique. When we spoke of this, when this was in a National School Board, Dr. Marzak was invited there to speak on that. I think there are advantages to big schools. I know being able to offer more courses, more opportunities, and all that, but I also know how important community schools is. McDowell is a community school. Highland is a community school. Brown is a community school. Even though they're in the city of Columbia, they have and being in those schools and seeing that has made me realize that I don't really want to have great big elementary schools. I mean, I think that we talked about it one time, having a school of 800 and all that. I think a school of 500 is a pretty good size elementary school. But I think we've kicked the can down the road. I think we've decided that we've spent $1 million for plans. We've got unbelievable plans that look like it fits into the community, yet it's still got that same modern sort of industrial feel to it. It certainly meets the same sort of needs that Battle Creek does. So I just think that for 3 years we've been talking about that, and I don't know that any time that the board could reach a consensus as whether to combine or whatever. And so we finally came together and said, okay, we need to build McDowell. We need to give that school back to the community. We need to replace it. And we voted to do that. And I think that's the path we're on. That's the path I feel like we need to be on. Amen.
Okay, I'll just say one more thing, because as you can guess where I'm gonna vote on this, so that's where I'm at. I would just say this again, I've said this before on the big school. I know when we went and toured McDowell, there's a lot of discussion about small schools. I'm not against small schools. What starts to trouble me is when the discussion is we don't, when we had to add on to Marvin Wright, or when we talked about building these new schools at Battle Creek, there was no choice given to a community school there. When we had to look at the numbers, the reality is community schools come at a cost, at a higher cost. We cannot afford to build, in the Spring Hill area, for example, we couldn't afford to build 300 to 500 student schools such as we have in Columbia. We couldn't do it if we wanted to. And I think that's a reality. Again, these are costs that are associated with this. Those community schools, which is why it's all the more important to really talk about real numbers when we talk about cost of what it costs to have those. That means if it costs more to have a school there, some other school or some other student is not getting something else, because again, we operate on limited funds. And I think that's the reason I always have every time we talk about anything, my opinion regardless, I like to have real numbers that we're talking about. I'll flip back to something else too. We talked about the other night about the sporting, about what it would cost to maintain sporting fields. We still haven't included that in our budget discussions. We are still not talking about real numbers. We're getting closer, but we're still not there. So, again, I say all that. Spring Hill didn't want 800 student schools. They're going to make do with what they're given, obviously. But that was something this board knew by looking at the numbers, that we simply can't afford to build 350 student schools all over this county. So while that's a blessing, I think we need to be careful, or some people especially need to be careful when they throw that out, that they say we don't want your big schools. You know, there's people here that didn't want the big schools in the other parts of the county either. We just had to have them because we can't afford to do it otherwise. So I would just say keep that in mind.
Okay, then the motion is to amend the already passed capital budget from what it was, 60-something, to 63,024,293. Are we ready to vote? Do we need to vote? We'll do it. Mr. Dudley? No? Huh? Yes. Mr. Moore? Ms. Morency? Mr. Beaver?
No.
Ms. Kinzer votes yes? Yes. Okay. That motion
Yes.
that motion does not pass. So I assume the capital request will go as it was. Yeah. Okay. And let me say this, I think that Mr. Moore is correct, really correct in that Spring Hill project's gonna run, it's no telling, really. But it will be done in, I think he's correct that 36 is really too low, but, you know. No, that, I wanted to give him, please note that I said he was correct one time. Okay, is there any other business? One thing, just as a way of announcement, and I think I sent out an email to you all, or I don't know if you were able to see the email, but when I talked with Scott Summers last night and told him we were gonna change the way the meetings was, he said the way we were gonna do it would not help at all. So, he has said that the budget committee meets on the second Monday. If we also met on the second Monday, then it'd be a month before we could get it to him. So I've already asked Amanda to adjust the policy to say first and third, first being the, our regular meeting, and the third being the work session. Just want you to know why that, and that way, see, he's giving me a thumbs up, that way they'll have a week, be able to get the budget amendments to the budget, then from there, it will go to the county commission a week later, and it'll be a 3-week turnaround as opposed to a 6-week turnaround. So that's why we did it, and that would mean that our first meeting, our meeting in July would be a work session the 15th of July. And then our first meeting in the new, if we pass the policy, but I've amended, it's on your agenda when it's posted, so. Any other announcements or concerns or, huh? Motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye, or go. All right.